Today we're going to talk about geared heads for landscape photography, specifically the Leofoto G4 Pro geared head that I've been using for several months now. So this isn't the first time I've talked about geared heads on this channel. I've used some in the past, and I've even done some videos on those, and I'll link to those videos down in the description below if you want to see another type of geared head that you can use. But over the past year or so, I've really become a big fan of using geared heads for my landscape photography. So in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about why you might want to consider using a geared head for your landscape photography, why you might not want to consider using a geared head for your landscape photography, and specifically about this Leofoto G4 Pro that I've been using for several months. So first, let's talk about what a geared head is when it comes to landscape photography. You are probably used to a ball head. That's what most of us landscape photographers start with. It either comes with our introductory tripod, or it's just what we're most familiar with when you first get started. And that's something like this one back here. This is a ball head. It's got the ball down here. You can loosen a knob and you can make your adjustments. And it's a ball head. It's pretty obvious why, because it's just this ball that has friction on it that helps control your composition. But with a geared head, you start to get into much more precise control of your movements of your camera, because with this particular one you've got this dial and it controls the movement to either the pitch or the roll, and you can turn this and it makes small, subtle, gradual movements. You're not loosening something and it's suddenly moving. And that's where the benefit of a geared head comes in. It allows you to have very precise control over your compositions. It can be handy for a wide-angle lens, but where it really becomes noticeable is if you're using a telephoto lens and you're really trying to get something lined up just perfect. Because when you're zoomed way out, a little subtle movement of your head can make a giant change in your composition. With a geared head, you're able to make nice, smooth, controlled movements with the camera by just turning one of these dials. And that's where a geared head really starts to show its worth. So for example, on this particular ball head, I can use this dial to control the forward and the pitch of the camera, how it moves down and how it moves up, and it can make nice subtle adjustments. I can control the tilt or the roll of the camera by turning this dial. And as I turn it, I can make it go to the left very gradually and in a very controlled manner, or I can turn it to the other direction and make it go to the right in a very controlled manner. And again, that's what one of the advantages is. It gives you very fine, precise movements. Now this one also has a geared panning option up here at the top. And this is, once you've got everything all set up, if I just want to change my panning, I can turn this dial and it'll do a geared adjustment for your panning as opposed to just completely free flow moving it from the right to the left. So this is pretty handy as well. We're going to talk a little more about all these specific knobs on here in a bit, but the key point to take away from this is if you're wondering what a geared head and how does it work, it's using gears to make controlled and precise movements of your camera versus a ball head. Whereas let's take another look at this ball head here. Right now I have this one loosened up, and I have one knob on here. This is the one that controls, loosens or tightens it. So right now I have it set to loose, and it is free flow. It can go in all different directions all at once. I can push it fast, I can push it down to the right, I can push it forward, up, left, right. I can do movements at the time. It's a multi-axis movement once I loosen one dial, which is super flexible and allows you to make very rapid movements. So if you find yourself in a composition and looking up this way and you suddenly want to be down here, a ball head can be very good at that because you loosen it up and it goes down. But it is a less precise movement, and if you're really trying to fine-tune a composition, can be irritating if all you want to do is actually control the roll of your camera, what level it's at, and then when you loosen it, oops, you accidentally dip it as well. Now you've sort of messed up your composition. So a ball head can be flexible for fast movements and multi-axis movements all at once, but it can also be frustrating if it causes you to lose your composition a lot. Again, on wide-angle lenses, while I still find a geared head valuable and useful, it's really most noticeable if you're using a telephoto lens and really trying to micro-adjust those compositions. But that's a geared head and that's a ball head. Now, with that said, you really do sort of have to make a choice about which is right for you. Not everybody likes a geared head. Well, I've been using these over the course of the past year or so now, and I've really come to appreciate the precision of a geared head, and that's because it sort of matches my style. I am very content. I get my tripod set up, I get my scene, and I sort of think through my composition very deliberately. And really to sort of see certain compositions, I want small, subtle movements to really study and really get exactly what I want. So a geared head sort of fits my style of photography. I don't mind the slower pace of adjusting in my composition. There are other photographers who feel limited by a geared head because they don't want those micro adjustments. They want to be able to just go from here. They want to be able to go to here. They want to make their adjustments more quickly, and they feel like the ball head lends itself to more flexibility. In a lot of ways, they're right. One dial, you loosen it, and you can very quickly go from left to right, up, down, make a diagonal adjustment. It makes those types of things very easy. So there is no right or wrong head. While I have come to prefer a geared head, that is not to say you need to go get a geared head. But if your style of photography lends itself well to those precise movements for whatever reason, the geared head can work really well. If you feel like you're more free form and you like the flow and you like the change and you don't get frustrated by how sometimes you can lose your initial composition with a ball head is a completely suitable option. There's lots of great ball heads out there. I've done a video on this one. I'll link to it down in the description below, as well as an FLM ball head that I've been super pleased with. But the thing is, you just need to match the head to your style of photography. So as a landscape photographer, I think it's important to know what options exist out there. But in this video, by no means am I saying you have to use a geared head to be a good landscape photographer, or you have to use a ball head. Be familiar with both, figure out which one fits best with your style of landscape photography, and give it a try. So let's talk about this Leofoto G4 Pro I've been using. So I said I've used this for several months. I think it's probably been closer to 6 months plus. I've been using it for quite a while, so I feel like I have a lot of time with this head. It actually shows some of the wear and tear, little scratches against rocks and things like that. So let's first talk about the specs of this geared head, and then we'll talk a little bit about some of its features, and then I'll wrap up with what my thoughts are on this specific geared head. So first, this is made of aluminum alloy. It uses stainless steel precision screws and brass gears inside. They are enclosed. You cannot really see the brass gears inside. They are pretty much encapsulated in there. This head is 5.11 inches tall. It's about 2.36 inches wide. It weighs 1.8 pounds, which we're going to come back to, and then it has a camera load capacity of 44 pounds. Now remember, when factoring in load capacity, that doesn't necessarily just mean weight. Be thinking about the forces that the physics will put on it. So if you're got a big heavy telephoto lens and you're leaning it down, it's getting buffeted by wind, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to put a 44-pound camera on here. Think of its 44-pound load, taking into account camera weight plus the external forces on the camera as you have it positioned. It is Arca Swiss compatible. It retails for $589, and it does come with a lifetime warranty if it was purchased anytime past May of 2024. Leofoto has been offering a lifetime warranty on their products, including this head, so it is backed by a good warranty. So one of the important things to know about when you're looking at a geared head is what geared options do you have? What options do you have to move this head from the left, right, horizontal, and everything like that? So to start that, we're going to start with the pitch. And the pitch is the 4.5. So you get your camera set up there and you can dip it or you can bring it up. We're going to call that pitch. And it has a geared adjustment for that. The geared adjustments on this head are the larger knobs. So you can turn that, turn it to the right, and it will dip the camera, turn it to the left, and it would bring the camera back up. So that's what the larger knob there does. Now, one of the features that the Leofoto has is it's not limited to just the geared adjustment. You can also undo this smaller lever and it will give it a rapid adjustment. So if you do find yourself really want to make a rapid adjustment and not do geared, you can get a single axis rapid adjustment by loosening this lever and it will dip. So you can change it very quickly like that. And those are your adjustments for pitch, that down and up of your camera. You got a geared adjustment and a fast moving. Then you've got your roll or your horizontal tilt. How are you doing? Are you dipping the camera on the left? Are you dipping the camera on the right? Again, the geared adjustment on this head is the large circular knob. So I can turn it. I can dip the camera to the right. I can dip the camera to the left or vice versa. And similar to the pitch, in order to adjust the roll, there is another little lever here and I can do a fast motion. I can loosen that and now I have fast movement access to move the head to the left and right very quickly. Again, compared to a ball head, if you do that one loosen, you're going to be able to move it any which direction you want. With the geared head, you sort of have to choose which axis do I want to fast move. I don't actually use the fast moves very often. I tend to use the geared knobs most often. I very rarely use levers, but they're there if you do want to make those fast movements, and sometimes I do use them. So that takes care of adjusting your roll of your camera, your pitch of your camera. Let's talk about the panning of the camera. Now this head has two panning options. It has the one at the base, which gives it just free form. This is the free fast moving option. You can just untwist that and you can move it very quickly like that. It is a non-geared panning option. Now this head also has a geared panning option, and that is this knob up here. You turn it one way and the camera will turn to the right, turn it the other way and it will turn to the left. So it is very handy if you're trying to make that super small panning motion. to be able to have that geared panning option right there. I probably, unlike the pitch and the roll, I do tend to use the freeform pan more often than the geared. But when you start to get things dialed in right there and you're checking that edge of the frame for something jutting in awkwardly or anything like that, the pan can be a really nice subtle way to make that change. Again, useful on wide angle lenses, but really useful when you're using a telephoto where those small adjustments make huge changes in your composition. The geared pan is super nice for that. So those are the knobs and options to use for that. The other thing to point out with this head, because not all geared heads can do this, is this can do a 90-degree orientation. So if you have your tripod set up and you're wanting to photograph something down on the ground, maybe you've got some small scene, you've got some rocks or something like that, or some leaves or something like that, anything that's down flat on the ground where you want your tripod so you have the stability but look straight down, this head can do a 90 degrees down. You just do the fast loosen on one of these, put it down, and I tighten it up, and then you can make little small adjustments as you need to with the geared options. But that is a feature that's pretty handy. Not all geared heads can do a 90-degree look down. This particular one can, so I just think it's important to call that out. I probably don't use that option a lot, but it's nice to know I have it when I do use it, and I have used it in the past. And the head does have two bubble levels. It has one back here and then one on the side, so you can use that to help get a nice level camera if you want to. I tend to use the level inside my camera, but if you're doing any sort of big panorama or something like that, sometimes it's more important to have your base nice and level, so it does have levels to help you with that. So what are my thoughts on this head? Like I said, I've been using this for probably a little over 6 months now, and I've had it out in all sorts of weather conditions. I've had it out in lots of rain, sun, you name it, I've had it out there. So I've had a fair amount of experience with this head. I've had this head paired with my FLM CP30 L4 tripod. It's been the main tripod I've been using it with, and it's been working out really well on that tripod. And I've been pretty happy with this tripod head. Again, geared head in general, I've really come to love using a geared head, and this one has done everything I want. It gives me the ability to make those small, precise adjustments as I want. The fast move, if I happen to want it, I like that flexibility to have it. I wasn't sure I'd like geared panning. I'd never really had looked for a geared head with geared panning, but I do like it, especially when I'm trying to make those small adjustments. So I feel like this head comes with lots of options to be very flexible with how you use it, because it'll let you do those fast movements and geared movements all of the same head. You're not always having to make geared movements. So I think that's a good thing. Like I said, we just talked about the 90-degree ability to do that. I think that is super handy to be able to do. I don't use that a ton, but when I do want to get that downward shot of something, it's nice to not have to swap heads or be like, oh, I can't do that because my head won't let me do it. I'm gonna have to try to hand hold it. So I do like that feature. I think it really just adds to the flexibility and capability of this head because it gives you so many of those options to do what you want to do. Price-wise, I said this retails for $589. Leofoto often does sales at 10-20% off, not just Black Friday sales, but Memorial Days. They tend to have a sale happen fairly regularly, so you can usually find it on sale up to 20% off without too much problem. But $589, even at retail, puts it, in my mind, sort of in that mid-range. Some of the heads I've played with in the past are, $1,000, $900, $1,200, right in that price range. They can range to be even more expensive. Then there's another set of geared heads out there that I haven't played with yet, but they're down there more in the $189, $200, $250 range. I'll probably try to get my hands on one of those just to play with it, just so I can sort of help let people know what my experience has been with it. But at $589 retail, finding it on sale, I think this is a decently priced geared head, especially for all the flexibility and the options it brings. Now, everything's not perfect. Like I said, there's always trade-offs with things. In this particular one, there's just a couple, nothing major, but the gears, they're not quite as smooth as some of the heads I've used in the past. They work, they do fine, and I don't really feel like it's sloppy or anything or backlash. It's when I'm turning it, like right now, it's taking more force to turn the knob than it does a little bit more, and then suddenly that force changes. So it's moving the head in a consistent manner, but the force to turn the knob seems to change. It's not consistent through. That's same on the other side as well when you push and pull. So for some reason, the gears, like I said, they feel precise. I don't think I would describe it as backlash. It's just the tightness of the knob feels different as it works through the rotation. Minor annoyance, like I said, it really hasn't affected my composition. I just know when I'm going to turn it. Sometimes I'm going to feel a little more resistance than I might at other times. But it probably does speak to sort of that middle of the road quality as opposed to one of the more expensive geared heads. I really only noticed with these two, my panning seems to be just super smooth. It's just these two. So I don't know for sure what that's all about, but that's one thing that a minor annoyance. Now, my bigger complaints are going to be about bulk and weight. Let's talk about the bulk first. What do I mean when I say that? This head is just big. Look, I mean, let's grab this ball head, set it here. I mean, this is just a much bigger head. It's 5.11 inches tall. And that's nice because it will set my camera up a little taller than I would with a lot of the other heads I might use. But it does cause it to stick up above my pack a fair amount. So that height sometimes is a bit of an annoyance, because it just feels really tall. I guess sometimes it can be that benefit because it gets me that little bit of extra room out of my camera height when it's on my tripod. But that does concern me just a little bit. But if it's just the bulk alone, I probably would barely comment on it. The biggest con to this particular head is its weight. It's 1.8 pounds, almost 2 pounds in weight. And it's just one of those things that you pick it up and you feel that it's heavy. It's not like you pick it up and it gets heavy after a while. It's just you pick it up and it's heavy. And that just factors into when I'm carrying it. If I'm doing a big hike or something like that, I just always know, man, I'm going to grab that geared head and it's going to be heavy and it's going to add to the weight of my pack. And it's just not great. Even when I'm carrying my tripod in my hand or something like that, it's so heavy that it makes the tripod feel off center. It's so heavy that when I try to show off how lightweight but stable my FLM tripods are, I tend to remove the tripod head for people so they can see that the tripod legs really are nice and lightweight, where all the weight from my tripod setup's coming from is in the head. I really wish they could find a way to make this in a lighter weight. I'd like to see it lose a ½ pound or get close to a pound in weight, something like that. That's my biggest complaint about this particular head, is it's heavy. I like the knobs, I like the features. I just wish they could find a way to get me all of this in a lighter weight package. That would be great. With all that said, this is still my go-to geared head at the moment. Appreciate its flexibility, the ability to do the fast moves if I want, do the geared moves if I want. I really like the geared panning option for all I want, but I can also do a freeform. The flexibility is nice. It's really helped me do what I want with my compositions. So it really, despite it being heavy, tends to fit my photography style quite well. So like we started at the beginning of this video, geared heads aren't for everybody. Ball head may fit your style of landscape photography better than a geared head, but if you find a geared head fits your style of landscape photography, I do think this Leofoto G4 Pro should be on your short list of geared heads to take a look at. Keep in mind it's heavy, but it gives you lots of flexibility with those fast movements, able to get to a 90 degrees, but it's just been a great head out in the field and performed very well for me. I will link to this G4 Pro down in the description below. It will be a link to Leofoto's site. It will be an affiliate link, and what that means is if you click through and buy something from Leofoto's site, I will get a small cut at no additional charge for you. But that helps keep this channel going, helps get me out on trips so I can do gear reviews like this, which are hopefully helpful. And if this video was helpful to you, be sure to hit that like button. And if you want to see future landscape photography content from me, including tips, tricks, behind the scenes, and mini gear reviews like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And thank you for watching.